everybody. Welcome back to the Divergent Comics Podcast. I am Gary, here today with not a comic book creator or writer, I guess, technically. It is a comic book artist, which is, I feel like this is kind of groundbreaking just because I've had an artist on before. I had D Fish. They were on last year. Phenomenal artist, also a writer. And then earlier this year, I had Anthony and John on to talk about their book. So I've always had some combination of artist and writer, and technically David kind of is both because he does have a couple of books. But I guess it's interesting today that we have only the artist for the book that we're going to be talking about, which is going to be fun. So hopefully,
so we can trash talk on the writer.
Yeah,
it's without
I wasn't going to say it because I felt like it wasn't my place, but I'll allow you to.
I will, yeah, for sure. I'll throw him under the bus.
Nice.
He's a real jerk. Nobody likes him. Even his own family doesn't like him. I hate him.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he pays you, so. Hopefully, he pays you. I should say. How are you doing today, David?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Full transparency, we're recording this on a Tuesday morning, which actually works perfectly for me because I don't work on Tuesdays. So I always have my mornings open. So thank you for thinking about my time when wanting to schedule this.
Yeah. This is perfect. It lines up great for my schedule too, man.
It's funny because it wasn't like intentional to do this interview today. I originally wanted to schedule it for like a Saturday or Sunday is usually how I do my interviews because it just gives me a little bit more time to do editing. And then also I feel like more people are available later in the evenings on the weekends rather than during the week. But David was like, yeah, no, that does not work for me at all. I was like,
I have a kind of a strange work schedule too. And I play music. So I'm in, I don't know, like 3 or 4 bands here in Austin, Texas.
Oh, wow.
So the weekends and the evenings, I'm usually playing some horrible venue with a really crappy band. So,
Well, if it's every weekend, it must not be too crappy.
Well, I'm in several bands, so it's not like, that's how I just kind of keep my time filled.
I feel you.
If I'm not playing with this band, I'll play with this other band.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, can you kind of tell the people about yourself? Just give us 3 things: your full name, and then I guess 1 or 2 interesting facts about yourself.
Okay. My name is David Lujan. I am from Austin, Texas. Let's see. Interesting things about me. I played basketball a lot.
Oh, nice.
I am a musician, so I play drums and guitar and bass, and I sing in a couple of bands in Austin. What else about me? I don't know. I'm really tall. I mean, I'm relatively tall. I'm like 6'5".
Okay. So
when people see at Comic Cons, when I'm tabling at a Comic Con, I stay seated because if I stand up, I'm like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" It's very scary for people. It's very, very scary.
Yeah, Have you gotten the joke? Why are you making comics when you should have been in the NBA?
No, because I'm not that great at basketball, and I'm way too old. And everybody knows that there's only like one in the history of the NBA. There's only been like one Mexican that made it into the NBA. All the rest of them are like, you might have somebody who's like Latinx of some sort, but when we were kids, we were like, oh, there's this one guy, he plays for the Denver Nuggets. His last name is Garza. It's awesome. But he was a total bench warmer. He was like 3rd string, never had any PT. So yeah, I knew from the start that I was not headed for the NBA. Just because of my ethnicity. That's all there is to it. There's no way around it.
Oh man, that is funny. But David, so I'm not sure if you're familiar, but I've been doing something new with my podcast for the last few episodes, basically about a month now. I break my episodes up into segments. So The first segment is always Would You Rather. So I have 3 Would You Rather questions. Are you ready for them?
Shoot, I'm ready to go.
All right. So the first Would You Rather. Would you rather have the ability to fly or the ability to teleport?
Ooh. Oh, that's a very good question. Uh, oh, can I ask you a question before I answer?
Sure.
If I'm able to teleport, is it like a Nightcrawler thing where I need to be able to see where I'm teleporting to?
Yep.
Okay, fly for sure. Because man,
Yeah,
you could teleport into a wall by accident. You're like, oh god, you get
that
stuck,
would
and
be
then you can't see your
unfortunate.
way out of it. Or somebody just puts a blindfold on you, done. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And you
that is
can't use
true.
your powers.
That is true. Okay.
Okay, that's my answer.
Next, would you rather listen? And this is actually perfect because I didn't realize that you made your own music. So, would you rather listen to your favorite artist every day for a month, or listen to a new artist every day for a month?
New artist every day for a month.
Mm.
Yeah, I try to. I'm currently trying to defeat the Spotify algorithm. So at the end of the year when they're like, you're the number one fan for this weird German krautrock band or whatever, you're
Hmm.
like, oh, I didn't realize I listened to that much. What I'm trying to attempt this year is to never play the same record twice. So
Ah,
going through and being like, nope, I already listened to that like 3 weeks ago. So I'm gonna listen to something completely new. So yeah, I would definitely vary it for sure.
okay. That's a good one. I like it. All right. Last, would you rather? Would you rather eat
Okay.
the same breakfast food every day for a year, or would you rather have the same dinner meal every day for a year?
I kind of already eat the same breakfast food every day, so I mean, I guess I'd go for that. I mean, yeah, if you think about it, dinner food can be much more elaborate, right? You know what I
You
mean?
have
Like
so many options.
breakfast, yeah, exactly. You could have sushi, or you could have a steak, or you could have, I don't know, a vegetable stir fry. You could have all kinds of different options. For breakfast, if you had a vegetable stir fry for breakfast, that's kind of weird. So it's usually like, an egg with some toast or something like that. I'm real boring. I'm so old.
Oh, don't feel
Yeah.
bad. For me, I typically do the same breakfast as well.
Yeah.
Scrambled eggs, grits,
Hmm.
either sausage or bacon. That's all I
Yeah.
need.
Yeah, you got your protein, you
Yeah.
got, a
And
little
occasionally,
porridge for you.
if I'm feeling like adventurous or feeling fancy, I'll have some yogurt on the side with some fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
don't
Yep.
need anything too crazy.
Exactly.
So, David, what made you want to
Yes.
start making comics?
Hmm. Well, I've always wanted to make comic books. I loved comic books as a kid growing up and stuff. I actually went to art school here in
Nice.
Austin, studied printmaking, and all of my professors would typically say, "Hey, will you stop making prints of Wolverine and make some real art, please? God, what's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Wolverine is real art, man. Plus,
Right.
that's Weapon X. He's not even Wolverine yet." So, psh. Um, but I guess what was really the impetus was was working as a carpenter, and I worked as a carpenter for about 7 or 8 years. And I found myself like I was chipping out some tile in a bathroom to remodel a bathroom for this lady, super nice lady. Uh, I don't know if you've ever chipped out tile with a hammer and a
I have it.
crowbar. It's
I've laid tile
terrible.
before, but I've never had to
Yeah,
chip out.
yeah, laying tile is not very fun. You got to be very precise, but
Mm-hmm.
chipping it out is even worse because
Mm-hmm.
when it breaks, it's like shards of glass too. So you have to
Mm.
wear gloves or you'll cut your hands up all to crap. Um, and I had this moment where I was like, hey, um, every day when I come to work, I'm thinking about stories and I'm thinking about comic book stuff and I'm thinking about, oh, I could draw this or I could draw that. Like, how do I break in the scene? What can I do to make that happen for me? And I had this epiphany, like, oh wait, this is terrible. Why am I even here? Why am I working in this job? This is horrible. I should
Mm-hmm.
just draw some stuff. So I decided to translate it. Well, not translate, but work from a novella that I had written
Mm.
during COVID about a vampire, uh, a Korean vampire, like turn of the century, Industrial Revolution era, whatever. I wrote a little novella about it, and I showed it to a friend, and he read it. He said, "Hey, this reads like a comic book, man, and we all know you can draw better than you can write. You should probably just stick to drawing. Why don't you make this into a comic book?" And I said, "Okay, sounds good." So then I made the Yuriko book and published it on Kickstarter, and it just kind of started snowballing from there. So yeah.
That's nice. I've done quite a few of these interviews in the 2 years I've been doing interviews, and I basically can say every person that I've talked to has said something on the lines of, well, when I was a kid, I really loved comic books.
Hmm.
And it's so interesting how something that you enjoy and love as a child can foster and become something that becomes, I guess, really like your career as an adult.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
when you were starting that journey to becoming a comic artist and making your own stories and things of that nature, did
Hmm.
you think back on those times when you were reading comics and be like, I used to really think about this and like, I can't believe I'm actually doing this now?
Yeah, it was kind of a weird process because, I'm coming at it from an adult perspective, right? So now I've read a lot of books
Mm-hmm.
and I'm familiar with a lot of art films that I was not familiar with as a kid. And every once in a while, I'll pick up a comic off the shelf from 1995 or something like that, something just horrible like Wildcats or something like that. And I'm reading it and I'm like, this is put together poorly. This
Yeah.
is like it's a bad story. The characters are transparent and one-sided, and they all have the same face depending on
Mm-hmm.
the artist. There's a lot. The backgrounds are kind of like thumbs down, not very good. And at the time, I thought it was the best thing I'd ever seen in my life. I mean, I would spend hours and hours and hours trying to copy Travis Charest or Jim Lee or Mark Silvestri or Todd McFarlane, any of those guys. I was like, I want to draw every single little mark and line that they did
Mm-hmm.
and figure out how they did that. And now I go back and read it and I'm like, whoa, this is like not that not that great. So it's kind of weird that you have in your mind this nostalgia almost for
Yeah.
what you loved as a child, and then as an adult you come back and you have a different perspective. And now, of course, I'm into other comics, and comics I think have grown like crazy since
It
the
has.
90s. I mean, and rediscovering comics from the 90s that I wasn't necessarily privy to,
Mm-hmm.
comics from Europe or comics from the 50s, like talking
Mm-hmm.
about Peter Toth or, uh, uh, you know, uh, comics from France, stuff like that. Stuff you would find in heavy metal and alternative comics, underground comics that I didn't know were happening in the 90s. All I knew about was the big stuff that was selling on the shelf at the comic book shop
Right.
that I went to at the mall. So coming back to it now, I'm like rediscovering so much, and uh, it's serving a different purpose for me, I guess you could say. So,
I like that. That is really interesting, and that is very enlightening to me. Just because I got into comics late, I didn't get into comics until mid 2010s, and so
oh,
I've been trying to go back and read a lot of the big two, and then also
hmm,
keeping up with independent creators. And I wasn't until like maybe a few months ago, maybe late last year or something like that, that I even knew about comics from Europe and all of those places. So
hmm,
it makes you really like open your mind to seeing like all the different types of storytelling and all the different art styles and things like that.
yeah,
Which,
yeah.
speaking about art styles, your art style is very unique. I was reading, I was like, I couldn't put my finger on what that style reminded me of. So could you kind of
Cool.
tell us a little bit about like what inspired your art style?
Well, I illustrate digitally. Like I just I draw all the comics in an iPad. Originally, I was drawing on paper, pen on paper because I was
Right.
broke joke and I couldn't afford an iPad. So I was like, paper and some ink, like how expensive could it be? I will make some comics. And that's kind of the cool thing, the heroic thing about comic books is it really doesn't take a lot. You just
That's true.
pencil on a piece of paper and you can make a comic. Um, and I love that. But I really, when I started illustrating digitally, I wanted it to look like ink on paper. I wanted it
Mm,
to look like brush strokes, uh, like pen marks, and I wanted it to have a little bit of, organic feel to it. I wanted people to know that a human drew this. Uh, because when you're younger, you strive for perfection, but at some point in time, perfection is boring. It's not,
mm-hmm.
you know, the you'll see a lot of covers nowadays, especially with the big two, where it just looks like an airbrushed Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition
Mm-hmm.
cover from 1998. of some woman who's empirically hot that is kind of nondescript, and you're like, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
sure, but I would prefer to see a little bit of art here instead of you
exactly.
covering all of your, So I do strive for that in almost all of the books that I've worked on. Um, and I also try and change my art style per IP, right? So
Mm,
if I'm working on my vampire comic book, I want it to be very dark, it's black and white, it's noir. If I'm working on my mermaid comic book, I want it to be like bright, crazy colors, but with a hint of creepiness going on,
hmm.
um, in the shadows and things like that. And then with Big Game Saga, it's very masculine, it's very manly, so the color palette changes, it shifts. Um, and the way that I put in shadows is different from those other two comics as well. So
I love
yeah.
that. A few months ago, I had my good friend Jorge on. He's the founder of the Comic Unknown, and he does horror comics. And
Cool.
his comics are always very dark, very gritty, and you can
Hmm.
tell in just the art, without any dialogue, how gritty and down to earth the story is.
Hmm.
And as you were talking and saying like, yeah, I try to change my style to fit the story, it reminded me of that because it's like everyone wants to make the perfect comic and make it look
Hmm.
beautiful. And to
Hmm.
me, beauty is in the imperfections. And so when I
Hmm.
was reading the book we're going to talk about today, Big Game Saga, and seeing the brushstrokes in each of the lines and how like certain characters just kind of looked like for example the main character of Saga, he looked like a dirty farmer. He didn't look
Hmm.
like someone that was trying to be beautiful for
Hmm.
aesthetic purposes. And it's things like that that kind of draw you, or at least that drew me into the story more because it felt more grounded, it felt more real. So I like that you take that approach to art as I'm not trying to be perfect, I'm just trying to make it beautiful. And that beauty lies in the imperfections of everything looking slightly unique, but
Hmm.
also very different in its own way.
Well, then I'm realizing too in the like the age of AI, right?
Hmm.
Uh, you can generate a beautiful, empirically beautiful looking human, right? You know what I mean?
That's
She
true.
might have 10 fingers on one hand, but and they'll be all jumbled. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I'm realizing in the age of AI that it's so important to be able to see the human touch
Hmm.
in the work, in your artwork, because that's the whole that's what artwork is about
Agreed.
human creativity, right?
Hmm.
So I'm learning to let go a little bit more. Like I opened up a sketchbook from when I was, God, I don't know, 13, 14, and it's perfect. And I'm using these rapidograph pens, and I'm like, trying to make these lines just awesome and whatever.
Right.
And it would take me hours and hours and hours to draw one picture. But nowadays, I'm kind of like, hey, I just need to get in there, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. I want the story to move at the pace it needs to move, right? So the lines get quicker when you want the story to move faster because action. The lines slow down if it's going to be a long period of talking, right? Where people aren't gesticulating a whole lot, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So, yeah.
I love that. So for you, since you've been making comics, what has been the most fulfilling aspect of making comics?
Finishing a comic, that's the best part. When you're done, you're like, yes, I did it. It's over. Ah, okay. And then, when you get an actual physical copy of a comic book in the mail, that's why I love doing these Kickstarters for these comics, is because it's a chance for me to raise funds to print the comic, right?
Hmm.
And then I get to hold it in my hand, and you get the page reveal because I'm real
Hmm.
big on like page turns, between page one and then page two. Bam! Here's the bear that's stomping through the woods or whatever the thing's
Right.
gonna be. I love that aspect of comics and being able to hold it in your hand, whatever. That's the most fulfilling for me, for sure.
I definitely have to agree with you. Like um, finishing the story and then getting that first print is honestly there's almost nothing like it. It's
Hmm.
amazing.
Yeah.
So thank you, David, for letting us talk a little bit about you. Time for the next segment. We have
Okay.
our top three. So this is the first segment I actually created a few months ago that I was like, I want to start adding into podcast because I did it on Threads and saw a lot of people talking about their top 3 vegetables. I was like, okay, great. That was a great idea. And so since I've
Hmm.
been doing it, I've been trying to change it up and give different topics. So what I'm going to do today, and I thought about this because I was like, he's an artist. Of course he would like this topic.
Uh-oh.
Top 3 favorite Disney animated movies.
Oh man. Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Ooh. Top. My absolute hands down favorite is the Black Cauldron. You seen that
Oh,
one?
you went back with that one. That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't mess around. Black Cauldron with the undead army. Come on, man. And
That is a good
the
one.
Horned
Yeah.
King or whatever. Whew, that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. So
It
good.
still holds
Oh.
up too.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, I read the books recently, and I was like, oh, these are definitely children's books, but they're cool.
Yeah.
Um, okay, uh, whew, man, then probably Sword in the Stone would be my second.
That's another throwback.
Uh, and then third, I'm obviously like a fan of like Golden Age. Oh man, and then third is either gonna be Sleeping Beauty
Mm.
or it would be 101 Dalmatians. I like the
Can't go.
animation in 101 Dalmatians better,
Yeah.
but I like the actual backgrounds and the artwork of Sleeping Beauty. Have you ever looked up the artist who did all the backgrounds for that?
I did not, but I do know that there was like a little bit of behind the scenes stuff that they were able to show on the Blu-ray for the Sleeping Beauty, and I never watched
Yeah,
it.
dude, the artist that they hired to do all those backgrounds, he's a well-known artist. Like, what a badass! He's a visionary. I mean, the way that he draws and everything was so specific that I don't know, man. It's just it's mind blowing when you look back on it. Whatever. And the animation, of course, is great because that's like what golden era or silver age. I don't
I
know.
can't remember. I think it
But yeah,
was.
I
Yeah,
think those would be my top three.
that's a good list. That is a really good list, especially being so like most of the time people will give their top 3 like Disney movies or top 5 Disney movies, and it'll be most of the stuff from like the 90s and early 2000s,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I mean
Little
that's what
Mermaid.
yeah that's
You
what I
know,
grew
yeah,
up on, and so I get it. But yeah, you
yeah.
went back with those. I like that.
Well, when my kid was small, we had a VHS player, and my
Mm,
mom had all these old VHS tapes that she bought on 99 cents for on like Amazon or something like that. And so
okay.
she had all these VHS of Disney movies, and she had all the old ones. She's
Oh,
like, "You guys want
nice.
these videos?" I'm like, "Yes, absolutely." So we just destroyed my kid by playing like old weird VHS tapes. That was the only thing she had to choose from. She didn't even know Netflix existed until she was like got to school, and all the other kids were like, "Why don't you just watch dumb shows on Netflix?" She was like, "I don't know what that is." I'm like, "Yes,
That
yeah,
is great. I love it. All right. So, David, let's talk about your story. Big
okay,
Game Saga. You're currently running a Kickstarter for issue 2.
hmm
But let's talk a little bit about just the overall story. Did Since you're the artist, did you initially come up with this story, or was this something that was commissioned to you?
it was something that was commissioned to me, but the so the writer had seen some of my other work,
Hmm.
and he contacted me and said, "Hey, I'd really like to work with you. Um, what would you like to draw, or what have you not drawn yet that would pique your interest?" So he wanted to know what I was into, and I was like, well, I don't know, like ninjas are pretty cool. I haven't drawn any ninjas, anything with swordplay. He's like, also I haven't done any like tech stuff, like sci-fi kind of like guns and like commandos type stuff. And he was like, "Ooh, I got the best story." So he pitches. His name's Bill Poor, by the way.
Hmm.
He pitches a lot of scripts for uh, TV and you know Netflix and Hulu and all that kind of stuff. And he has a manager who had basically shelved this script. They were like, "I don't know if this is gonna make it. Like, I don't know if any of the TV producer type streaming services are gonna be interested in picking this up." So they put it on the shelf, and he was like, "I got this one. It's about a ninja who gets abducted through time and hunted for sport. So you got ninjas, swords, tech, some gun commando stuff. It's all in this one script." I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure. Let's try it out." So that's how I ended up working on this guy.
That is insane, actually.
Yeah.
So I think it actually kind of works out perfectly because I feel like this story has to be told in comic form just by the way that the beats flow.
Hmm.
Like you talked about before, the page turners are really good page turners.
Hmm.
And then the ending to issue 1, I think, was almost perfect. So I could see this being a really good TV series, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that it started out as a comic because it works perfectly well for where it's being adapted currently.
Yeah, he was really Bill was really interested in the idea of playing with time and setting
Mm-hmm.
uh, in the illustration process, right? So when we go back to feudal Japan, it turns black and white, and it looks kind of like a like a manga
It
comic book,
does, yeah.
which I was stoked about. I was like, yes, that's awesome. I want to do that. Um, and then when it comes back to present day, it's in
Mm-hmm.
full color. And there's a little bit of play with that when we in issue 2. There's some scenes that I've kind of like teased a little bit where Saga's being shown some projections of his wife back in feudal Japan getting like tortured,
Okay.
and he's in color, but she's in black and white because they hadn't invented color in the world yet. I'm just joking.
Oh.
Yeah,
But no, I'm
but it's just
actually
that,
interested by that
yeah,
because
you know.
I think there's a lot of times where being in comics, you can just do things creatively that you can't really
Hmm.
do. Like a lot of things can translate pretty well from comics to film relatively seamlessly because both are visual mediums. But I think a lot of things can be done in comics that just work a little bit better than they would
Hmm.
on film. And so, like playing with the color palette like that and doing different brushstrokes and having like that transition in issue 1 to feudal Japan, where we get to see Saga for the first time, and that
Hmm.
tonal change
Yeah,
that just jumps off the page, phenomenal. I loved it.
I thought it was a great idea, and I was stoked that Bill had that idea and he floated it. He was like, "What do you think about this?" I'm like, "Perfect. Yeah, let's try." I took a class in college. It was a comic making class with a woman named Jessica Abel,
Mm,
who is a published, she's published in Fantagraphics and stuff. And she was talking about making comics and how you don't need a big budget. You just need to be able to draw it, so you
hmm.
can draw anything. So she was showing us, this is kind of a eye-opening experience for me. She was showing us comics that were, in the indie comic realm where people were having psychedelic trips or people were getting pulled through a wormhole through time or suddenly people's like genders just swap and they're like, oh my God, what's going on? All you have to do is draw it, right? So you don't
Right.
need a giant CGI production budget. You don't need location scouts. You don't need any of that stuff. So you just have to draw it on paper. So the world is your oyster as long as you can draw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And in the story of Big Game Saga, the location scout is dead.
yeah, exactly, right? Yeah.
Slight spoilers if you haven't read uh, Big Big Game Saga issue 1 called Selling Sunrise. So since he pitched you the story and
Mhm.
kind of brought you on through that, were you fully involved with the entirety of like developing the story and everything, or was it just he already had a script and you just kind of like made some minor tweaks?
So this was that issue was actually drawn. We were talking about this earlier before we logged in. That issue was actually drawn in 2024, and I at the time was fairly new to working with other writers. So I had drawn my own comics where I wrote the script. And
Mm-hmm.
when I was writing the script, I knew exactly what I wanted the page to look like. So it was very easy for me to read it and say, oh, yeah, that's what it looks like. And then bam, 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 I make some thumbnails and go from there. But working with other writers was a bit foreign to me at the time. And so there was a little bit of back and forth, but I think that this was actually Bill's first comic script to get
Mm.
illustrated by an artist too. So I was trying to really adhere to like his page count, his panel setup, his like all of the things that he had laid out in the script, but for me visually there was a disconnect because I was seeing it as I was reading the script. I was seeing it in a different way than the way he was laying it out for me, saying, okay, panel one has this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
Panel two has this, and this, and this. Whereas for me, I was reading it and I said, okay, panel one's got to be tiny, and he just says this one thing, and then panel two, he's got to say something else, and we're going to move the camera over here. And I was kind of visually seeing it in my
Mm-hmm.
mind differently, but I was sort of I was wary about making that decision. Whereas now, someone sends me a script, I'm like, your panel numbers are going to go out the window. As soon as you send me a page and I'm reading the script, in my mind, how it needs to happen is how it's going to happen. Because I'm not going to mess around with like, you give me a panel that's got, a brick of text, and you want me to just draw one person standing there and he's going to say all this stuff back and forth. No, I'm going to make a bunch of different panels for them to talk and different angles and things that I find interesting to make the page flow the way that I think it needs to flow. And I realize now that that's my job. It's not necessarily the writer's job. Um, Writers can make suggestions, but it's really up to the artist. Because it's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. It's just
Mm-hmm.
never really going to work. So.
I agree. I think that's the difference between a great artist and a good artist. A good artist will follow the script and will make the art look really well and may even change some of the art style. But the
Mhm.
way that you just described is to me being a great artist, where you can not only see the script, but you can see how you can improve it and use your art
Mhm.
to enhance the story and make it flow and make it come alive on the page. And that's great.
There's a lot of the last thing I'll say about this. There's a lot of comics that I've read from the big two, and the reason why I get bogged down and I don't want to finish reading these books is whether it's Batman or it's the Flash or whatever it is, right? There's a lot of these comics where you'll have a whole page, right? It's like this, and then right here you'll have a character talking to another character who's right here, and there'll be word bubbles that just kind of go back and forth, and they go inside of each other, blah 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 blah. And there's all this verbiage or whatever. And then when you get down to the bottom, it's one drawing that's done. Maybe it's a detailed drawing, it's kind of a splash page situation, but the characters are gesticulating in a way that really only suits part of their conversation because they might be having a heated conversation about something where they disagree, and then by the end they do agree or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how are you supposed to draw all of those different mannerisms and hand gestures and things to encapsulate everything that was said in that long
Right.
ass page of dialogue? Plus, if I'm reading a comics book, I don't really want to read, man. So you got to trick people. Yeah, no, you got to trick people into wanting to read what the words are by
Mm-hmm.
showing them cool pictures at the same time. That's really what it's all about, especially when you have a talkie page with a lot of like expostulation that needs to happen in order for the plot to flow or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right. I definitely agree with you on that. So I want to ask this question, and if you don't have a detailed answer, I'm perfectly okay with that. The first issue was called Big Game Saga Selling Sunrise.
Hmm.
Second issue is called Big Game Saga Deadly. Let me make sure I get this right. It is Deadliest Catch and Release.
Hmm.
Are you part of the subnaming, or are you part of the process of adding the subname, and have you been intentionally choosing like the way that name comes about? I hope that question
Uh,
comes out right.
yes, yeah, I know what you mean. No, that's all Bill.
Okay.
He's the one he's very tongue in cheek. So yeah, I'm like, we're on a fishing trip now. Okay, cool, but we're fishing for ninjas. It's like what? This is crazy. But yeah, no. So for like the Kickstarter, if whoever listens to this gets a chance to go check out the Kickstarter, all of the verbiage that's in there, describing the book and all that, it's very playful and it's upbeat and it's cool, and that's all Bill. That's right. So I did all the graphics and the layouts for the thing, but I was like, hey, you need to take your snarky humor and go and fill in all the blanks with your words because if it's me, I'm probably going to take it a little more. I'm going to go from a serious angle because the comic is actually doesn't have a whole lot of humor
No,
in the comic itself. There is humor, which is
there is
cool,
some. Yeah.
but it's not like a funny comic book. So then when
Hmm.
you read like the Kickstarter and us like if you talk to either one of us, we're both complete knuckleheads to where I mean, like, I can't keep a straight face. I'm just talking trash the whole time, you know what I mean? And then I'm drawing like this real serious emotional scene,
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I didn't come up with those two titles, but I think they're pretty genius.
Oh, they're great. I think the first one, Selling Sunrise, is very tongue in cheek because when you look at how that story unfolds, it's like, oh, well, I get it.
Yeah,
It's like I get
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So I'm intrigued because of the concept behind this story. It's so unique, and that actually is my biggest question. Do you think that you and Bill are going to only follow Saga in this story, or will there be other characters that will be?
So there's already been a few like Easter eggs in issue one and issue two about another character that's going to show up in issue three. Um,
Ah,
and then into issue four. Because I won't give anything away, but I'll say this much.
okay, okay,
I as an artist am amongst my peers. They know me for drawing naked babes. Like they're like, you know how to draw chicks, and they don't look lumpy in like weird ways. Like it works. How do you do that? I was like, well, I took a lot of life drawing classes. I don't know. Um, and in this comic book, it has been just like a pretty much a sausage fest. Like I'm just drawing dudes the whole time. There's no hot chicks at all. And
yeah.
so Bill was like, "How are we going to sell issue two?" I was like, "I don't know. There's no babes. What do we do?" And he's like, "Ugh." So issue three, there, there's a yeah.
Good
In
to
issue
know.
four, she
Okay,
makes her it's gonna
good
get
to
cool. It's
know.
gonna get real cool.
Good. Well,
Not
I
that issue one and two you shouldn't read them because I've been sneaking in. I've been sneaking in some babes. Like there's a locker scene where he opens up his friend's locker and it's
mm,
just plastered with posters on the inside of the locker door.
yeah.
And you've got like Selena, and then you've got Sailor Moon, and then you've got just
Mm,
like some hot naked porn mag centerfolds that are hanging up there. I was like, I need to draw some kind of chicas in this comic book,
yeah.
even if they're just Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
you
even
did have the.
I put a poster of my mermaid character
Yeah.
Narita in his locker. So,
Oh,
and
that's sweet.
there's a poster of my vampire too,
Mm,
Yuriko, like surrounded by she's like basically getting groped by a bunch of skeletons. And on the poster, yeah, behind the main
okay.
guy who's like talking on the phone or whatever. And there's lots of Easter eggs that I like to put in these comic books just because I can, and you can't stop me.
I like it. I will say two things. One, you do have the OnlyFans Instagram model in issue one,
Yeah.
so that was a nice touch. And then two, the thing that to me sells issue one and then is selling issue two, and we'll give you some time to talk about the Kickstarter a little bit after. But the action, the action scenes are honestly amazing. So I think that alone sells a lot of the story.
Yeah, that was fun in issue one. I was like, ooh, I get to actually make like a ninja kicking people's butts, like using actual ninja like weapons and stuff. So I got to look up like what were they actually using? A lot of them were just farming tools that had
Mm-hmm.
been retrofitted to become an instrument of war, destruction, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Um, so that was real fun. Yeah, for sure.
I could tell you had a lot of fun with that. I had a lot of fun reading it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk some. Let's talk about some fun things, shall we? Even
Okay.
though comics
Okay.
are always fun to talk about. First, are there any other stories that you're currently working on? So you mentioned two
hmm
your main comic that you have,
hmm
Narita. Jeez, I'll be able to pronounce it eventually. And then Eureka. Can you tell us about those two stories?
Yeah, Narita is like she is a mermaid who gets trapped on land. She loses her mermaid's cloak and she's trying to get it back. She is gets kind of embroiled with the warring kingdoms of different men, but then also she gets abducted by fairies and they shrink her and shenanigans ensue. Um, Yeah, so that's kind of the crux of what that story is about, the elevator pitch for that guy.
Hmm.
Uh, that's supposed to be a nine comic kind of maxi series, I guess.
Okay.
And then I started reading a book about pirates, and I was like, dang, we should do a sequel series. That's the about she turns into a pirate. So that's coming down the pipeline because I'm crazy. And then the other one, Yuriko, is about a Korean vampire turn of the century, like 1900, like right when
Okay.
the Industrial Revolution's happening, whatever. It's black and white. It's very noir. And the comic series follows a young uh, tracker from the Korean army who comes back from war, and he is trying to track down his estranged sister who's thought to be operating as a vampire's familiar
Mm.
in Seoul, like circa 1901, something like
Okay.
that. So he's chasing her down, and this is part of a bigger story that kind of sweeps all the way across Europe, ends up in Prague. Um, there's werewolves, there's like Egyptian lore, there's like all it's kind of an epic. It's a bit too big. I need to like pare it down. But
Okay.
I've only done issue one and issue two of that story. I'm working. I've got issue three all scripted and ready to go. I haven't done the paneling and the thumbnails for it yet, but I've been working heavily on Narita. I'm working on book four for Narita right now, and I'm
Mm.
probably gonna just focus on that and get that one off my desk before I move back into the vampire one. And then
Nice.
I have another series that I wrote with my daughter.
Oh, fun.
It's called Yuki the Dragon Slayer, about a interdimensional, like middle school aged dragon slayer. She
Mm.
comes from a family of dragon slayers, and she just kind of there's a crack in the sky, and boom, she comes through, and she's being chased by a dragon, and she has to fight this dragon. She's got a like a berserker sword that's a big 6 foot tall sword, but
Sweet.
she's like a little ass little person. She's super gnarly. But the thing is, her sword is broken in half, right? So
Ah.
she only has the bottom half of it, but it's like wide. It almost looks like an axe.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm stoked about drawing that because that's going to be 100% action, high octane, just like kaiju book.
Oh, that
Yeah,
sounds awesome. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm gonna have to read that one for sure. I
yeah.
like it. So, can you tell us a little bit about the Kickstarter for Big Game Saga issue 2, Deadliest Catch and Release?
Yeah, we've got issue two and issue one up there. I've also got all the back issues of these other comics that I just was telling you about. If
Mm-hmm.
anybody wants to pick those up in either digital format, or if you want the real comic book, which is the way to go. Um, I've got three variant covers that I did for issue two.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is my favorite is probably cover C. It's based on a Japanese woodblock print, so it's
Oh,
a picture of a samurai who's like stabbing this like kind of flowing tiger thing. And I'm a printmaker. That's I own like a tiny little print shop here in Austin that we screen print crappy T-shirts and stuff for people. Um, but so I love printmaking. I love woodblock prints and stuff like that. So I was kind of emulating that for this, and it was an excuse for me to do that because I love Japanese woodblock prints.
mm,
Um, so we got that. I'm also working currently on the poster, which I'm gonna reveal because I always like to send out stuff, man. When you get a actual physical package on a Kickstarter, not only do you get the comic book, but you're gonna get stickers, you're gonna get bookmarks, postcards, you're gonna get a poster wrapped around the whole thing, a little thank you note. Um, so yeah, that's the Kickstarter in a nutshell. It's actually cruising along pretty well. I think we're almost at like 70% funded. And we've been live for a couple of days, so
yeah.
yeah.
Last time I checked before we started recording, you all were well north of 50%, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so the link to the Kickstarter will be below. So if you are listening or watching this episode, go check it out and show some support because I'm telling you, if you haven't read the first issue and you are wondering if you should back this Kickstarter and get both issue 1 and issue 2, if my opinion means anything, you should go get issue 1 and issue 2 through this Kickstarter because it was actually a really fun read. Like I said, Page Turner from Page Turner, great comic. High recommend.
Thanks.
So, David, this has been fun. I've enjoyed talking to you. You are easily one of the funniest people I've had on the show. I have one last question for you. This is not a serious question, but it is going to make you think.
Uh-oh.
So, if you had the opportunity to draw for one comic book character, an entire comic book series, who would that comic book character be?
But this has to be an established IP, like somebody else's character. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yes.
Hmm. 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 Ooh. I would love to draw Conan the Barbarian. Yeah,
That would be awesome.
I've been a Conan fan since I was a little kid. Uh, the Goodwill down the street from me always had, I don't know why, but they always had Conan books, like novels by
Wow.
Robert Howard and L. Sprague de Camp or whatever his name is. Uh, they always had these like awesome from the 60s, 50s, like little paperback books. And so I have a whole collection of Conan novels that I've had forever. I should have gotten rid of them a long time ago, but I've had it since I was a little kid. And my dad was a huge Conan fan, and I loved the Schwarzenegger movies from the whatever 80s, 90s.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
late 80s, early
that's
90s.
peak
Yeah.
cinema right there, guys. I'm gonna move so slow. But yeah, I would love to draw Conan the Barbarian. There was also God, which one was it? I think it was Conan Red Nails or something like that. And the whole thing was illustrated. The inside there was like book plates in there that were black and white pen and ink, and the style of illustration was like nothing I had ever seen in comic books. Again, when you have that enlightening moment, you're like, "Whoa, Frank Miller's cool," you know, you know
That
what I
is
mean?
true. Yeah.
And I looked up the artist, and he's a Spanish artist. He's long since dead. And he did a ton of stuff, but he wasn't ever a household name in the States. And I was like, dude, his style is amazing. Like, well, this fits Conan perfect. This is so cool. I just want to draw like that for the rest of my life. Um, so yeah, I would absolutely love to do that. That or Red Sonja. I'll take either. If anybody wants to hire me to draw some sword and sorcery, I'm down.
That would be awesome. I could definitely see your art style with Red Sonja. That would be great.
Yeah, then I get to draw some Chicos because
That
my
is true.
strong suit.
Nice. David, this has been fun. I've enjoyed it. Can you tell the people
Yeah.
where they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work?
Yeah, neritacomic.com, Nerida comic.com. Has all my links and stuff like that if you want to pick up a book or if you want to come follow me on social media. It's at Nerita Comic for all the social stuff. I'm mainly on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky these days. But if you're a Facebook person, I'm there too, sort of. If you're an X person, go there and then go to one of my other things because I don't really post on X at all. But yeah.
Nice. Well, all the links to David's socials will be below. Again, the Kickstarter link will be below, so go support Big Game Saga 2. Yeah, follow David wherever he is on socials and support this book and read some comics, Comics are
Yeah.
great.
Comics are good for the soul.
Exactly. Well, thank you again, David. This has been the Divergent Comics Podcast. Again, I am Gary. Everyone, go read some comics.